Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Off-Farm Income Podcast. Hey, thank you for joining us here on our YouTube channel for episode number 937. Well, today we are going to be speaking with the 2020 National Proficiency winner in goat production. Luke Falkenstien is coming on, talking to us from Texas Tech University. And boy, I'm excited to bring this to you. He and his family in their goat production efforts are right on the cutting edge, right on that leading edge of goat production, doing embryo transfers. And this is the first time I've ever had anybody on the show where I've profiled a farm that is doing embryo transfers in goat production. Up until now, it's always been just cattle. So really, really interesting stuff. And we're going to get that started for you right now. Luke, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. I really do appreciate you making the time. I understand you've been extremely busy lately.
I have. I mean, the college is a lot different than you expected, especially when I'm part of the Texas Tech wool judging team. So practices are lasted about 4 hours, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, and contests getting ready. Thanksgiving break's coming up, and
yeah, you've got a lot going on.
I do.
Well, that's a good thing. That'll get you ready for real life. So, yeah, that's a good thing. But I suspect that you've probably kept up this pace for quite a few years now. So let me ask you about you a little bit before we get started. You're from Kansas, is that right?
I am from the southeast corner of Kansas. That is correct.
Okay. And Lebette County High School.
Lebette County High School is correct. It's in Lebette County.
Okay.
And it's we're about the high school is probably about 15 miles away from the Oklahoma border and 40 miles away from the Missouri border. So we're pretty just smack dab in the corner.
Okay. And what's the town that you grew up in, or that Lebette County High School's in?
Altamont, Kansas.
Altamont. Okay. Now, did you grow up on a farm or in? So let me rephrase this question. Did you grow up on a farm? Did you grow up in town, or maybe something in the middle of those two?
I grew up on a family farm that is in its fourth generation.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm pretty proud to grow up on it. We keep expanding, keep doing new things. We have rotational crops of corn, soybeans, and wheat. We are registered seed wheat dealers. And this year we're branching out, and we're going to do soft wheat instead of hard wheat. So it'll be new experience. Over the past couple of years, we've decided to drop our cattle. We also have a cow-calf operation.
Mm-hmm.
We've dropped our numbers. I think we have probably 150, 200 cow-calf pairs right now. But we've dropped our numbers in the recent years because they're very labor intensive, and we don't have the labor. We don't have the employees to keep it up to the level that we want to keep it at.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've been raising fescue seed on our pasture land that's not run by cattle. And that's been my brother's really, like, he's really good taking into that. He kind of took charge, and he loves doing that part of it. So
Okay.
It's pretty cool to get the rest of the family members involved.
Sure.
But that's what we grew up on. That's what I grew up on before the goats.
All right. And where you're at in Kansas, are you dry land? Are you irrigated? How does that all work for you?
We do not have any irrigation. You can go probably 60, 100 miles west is when they start the irrigation.
Mm-hmm.
But we get a decent amount of rain. I mean, I don't really. I know the past 2 years we were like muddy wet, like
Mm-hmm.
muddy. Like I think at one point in time we got like an inch of rain every 3 days for like 2 years straight.
Oh,
It was insane. We were really muddy.
That is very
So it was
muddy.
hard. Yeah, but so no, the irrigation coming to Texas, the irrigation, I knew about it, but like seeing it, and whenever you're going in an airplane, all you do is see circles in the ground. It's kind of new.
Yeah, totally new with all those pivots, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
you've been in the FFA for how long?
4 years. I started when I was a freshman, and then I went till I was a senior.
Okay. And what brought you in? Why did you join the FFA?
Well, I kind of really didn't have a choice, but I was going to choose it anyway. But I really didn't have a choice because my uncle was an FFA advisor at the time at the high school. My dad had an FFA. My dad could be an FFA teacher if he wanted to. He went to college and got his degree as an FFA teacher and an ag teacher. My sister was already in FFA, was actually the vice president when I joined, whenever I was a freshman. So I was kind of already, forced to be in it, but I would have chose to be in it even if nobody was a part of it though.
Now, let me ask you, would you have chose that your freshman year, or now looking back after 4 years, now you look at it and go, oh, I would have chose that?
I would have chosen my freshman year just because that I came from so like our high school is very weird where we have 5 districts that join our high school. So my district that I was involved in was I had I had 6 people in my graduating class. And there was 100 kids in my 8th grade graduating class. And the only people that I'd ever been around were I love to hunt and fish and be part of agricultural industry. And that was the only way I could make new friends in high school. So I knew I was going to be a part of it.
All right. Well, you joined and you stayed in 4 years, so it must have been the right decision for you.
Yes.
Okay. And then along the way, you became the secretary of your chapter? Or treasurer? Treasurer, right?
Treasurer. Yeah, I was treasurer. So my junior year, I ran for office, and there was a bunch of seniors, really good seniors that ran that year. Mm-hmm. And so I was just an alternate. I was I guess technically I was a student advisor, but I was part of the office team, but I wasn't one of the main offices. And then my senior year, I was the treasurer.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Now, how many FFA advisors did you have there?
I have 3 FFA advisors.
Okay.
And we have one, Dustin Wiley. He's in charge of plant and plant science, so soil and all crops. He's really good at all of those types of things. We have Kyle Zwallen. He's more of the animal science guy. He loves cows. He'll talk about cattle all the time. And then we have Mr. Keith Guerin, and he's more of the welding and shop teacher. So it's really cool to have 3 guys who love 3 different parts of the agricultural, so you can branch out to all different kinds of kids.
Perfect. All right, Luke. Well, I would love to talk about your supervised agricultural experience. It's interesting. I know that it involves goats. And by the way, we'll talk about your Proficiency Award coming up as well. Congratulations on that. But you named off everything that goes on in your family farm. And then you said, and then the goats. So let's talk about the then part of your family farm and talk about the goats.
So whenever I was 7, I think my sister first started showing goats, my older sister. And I remember that we bought a $75 goat from just this family from down the road and ended up winning the county fair. And knowing my family, we were very competitive, and getting that little taste of win just kind of fueled the fire of what transformed. So 2 nannies the first year turned into what we have right now is 75 donor does and over 250 recips. So it's very cool. Whenever I was a freshman, we first started to sell our wethers online. Mm-hmm. We made enough babies to have a productive online sale. Mm-hmm. And we were very blessed, and it sold. I think that for my freshman year, we won the Ozark Empire, which is a show and which is a district show in Missouri. Mm-hmm. And that was our first decent win. And then my junior year was definitely our best year. And my little sister won the Kansas State Fair. We sold a goat to Skylar Stodden that won the Missouri State Fair. We won the Minnesota State Fair. And then the best goat we raised that year, I took to Kansas City, and they got 3rd in the division. And I know that it's not getting grand at one of the state fairs, but Kansas City is a national show, and over the past couple of years, it's been one of the premier majors. So getting 3rd in the division with a goat I raised was I felt was pretty a pretty good accomplishment.
Yeah, congratulations to you on that. That's really interesting. So this is actually the first time I've profiled, well, this is episode number 937. So I've profiled a lot of FFA students and a lot of FFA students with beef cattle who are doing embryo transfers. But this is the very first time I've had somebody on the show who's doing embryo transfers with goats. How long have you and your family been doing that?
I think, you can't quote me on the year, but I think it was my 7th grade year whenever we started. We started with a guy out of Australia. And then over time, since the goat, I think that the main thing I liked about the goats is that it's so new. So like, there's not a set in stone, like you have to do it this way for it to be the best way. Like nobody knows the best way. So it's a lot of changing, trying new things, new ideas. So like over time, we've changed and moved around and found our way to Texas, and some of the Texas, like this past year, we used a family in Texas to do our embryo transfer and our different family to do our AIing. And that's, I think the embryo transfer has really done a big improvement on our genetics as a herd, just like it does in everything. But it's also kind of very humbling, because I remember one year we had a flush in April. We had a flush for our April kids. And that's supposed to be like the very high quality, because if they're not very good quality in March and April, you can't really sell them. So we had a flush, and out of six does, we got 0 embryos. And so it's very humbling, because it's so new that there's factors that go into the embryo transfer process that are the same factors in cattle, but nobody knows how to control them yet. And so some years you get really, really good numbers, and some years you get bad numbers, and it's a very humbling process.
That's interesting. So we're just right on the front end of the embryo transplant technology in goats.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I've got a question about that. So I'm very familiar with it with cattle, and of course with cattle you're getting one calf out of that recipient. But with goats, if you breed them naturally, you're frequently getting twins, sometimes triplets, sometimes even more. When you're dealing with a recipient doe and you're implanting embryos, are you implanting for twins or triplets, or just for a single kid?
We implant, so primarily we implant for twins. But if we have like 5 embryos, depending on the number of recips you have, we'll either put a single in, or we've actually, there's a, so it's not 100% true. So it's kind of like a rumor, I guess. But there's been some research done that if you put in twins, they actually perform better in goats because it's more natural for them. So in most occasions, we try to, like, if we have 5 of one and 7 of a different mating, we'll put the 2 together. And then if one of them's absolutely amazing, we'll get a DNA test. But usually you can just tell just by looking at the animal based on their genetics and their phenotype what their mating is in the end. But we like to put as many twins in as possible because we feel like it's the best.
Very cool. Wow, that's really exciting technology, and that can really up your game, especially I'm assuming that you're selling goats back into the show industry.
Yeah, every goat, I'd say every goat we've ever sold has went back into the show industry. Even the does have went back into some breeders' herd to raise more show genetics. But I'd say every single goat we've ever sold has went into the show industry.
Okay, very cool. Now you won, and congratulations again. You're the 2020 National Proficiency winner in goat production, correct?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet, man. That's quite an accomplishment. Tell me how that came about. Was it all based on the strength of your record book? Is it the strength of your project, a combination of the two? Tell me about that.
So the first thing you have to do is like fill out this long application record book. I mean, it takes a lot of work for people that don't understand what it really is. And then after we filled that part out, the most intriguing part of mine was probably the embryo transfer, and also like the profit page. So like to see where the income and where I started my freshman year and where it finished my senior year, there was a really good increase of price and profit. And like in my sophomore or junior year, I can't remember which one, we started raising recips. And so like I felt like that helped me separate myself away from the other contenders, because instead of buying recips, I was able to like just run like a commercial goat operation basically, and just like my dad would do with his commercial cow calf pair. And if they had good babies, then those babies would stay. If they were bad, then we'd sell the moms to like SEK Genetics for future recips that were just looking for salt. Like they weren't nothing bad about them. We were looking for the highest quality.
Right.
So then that aspect I really think helped me. And then I was really blessed to have there's one page on the end of your FFA application that's like an extra page. And so for my extra page, I contacted David Garrett, which is one of the premier breeders in the goat industry. And he's in Texas. And I contacted him, and he sent me a really nice reference letter, like a small reference. And then I combined that with the help of my mom. I combined that with like some of my premier donors and bucks as a really cool extra page. And I really think that had more impact than a lot of things, honestly.
That is great, man. Go ahead. Sorry, Luke.
But to like the final thing, like once you got down to like the four finalists and the nationals, you had to do a 5-minute video and talk about like an introduction, and then answer 3 questions they had about your application. And so I was able to do that at the Kansas State Fair this year with the help of Kansas State FFA officers. And so I really think that that also helped me win, because clarifying some of the I can't remember exactly what the questions were because I only went over them that one day, but it was something to do with what I learned the most, or it's like basic questions like that. And that was another process of part of the Proficiency Award.
Okay. And now, are you just at the beginning of your first year at Texas Tech right now?
I am. I am about 1 week of finishing my first semester.
Okay. And how did you choose Texas Tech rather than staying in Kansas or going over to Missouri or something like that?
Well, I wanted to go to, like, in my opinion, I think that Kansas State, Oklahoma State, A&M, and Tech are 4 of the premier agricultural colleges in the nation. And so then I wanted to go to a school that I felt would broaden my horizons and make great connections with the goat industry, because that's what I want to make an income for my future. And so I'm not going to lie. My dad graduated from K-State. He really wanted me to go to K-State. I grew up loving K-State football, K-State basketball. I mean, I still like K-State football and basketball. You can't just go away from it. But the thing that I chose Texas Tech over K-State, those were my final 2, is I felt that going to Texas, and I still believe it's true, going to Texas, I was able to make a lot more connections and learn more about the goats, because I'm only like 3 hours away from 2 of the best goat breeders in the nation, instead of being 13 hours away at Manhattan. And I don't really believe that I would learn anything more in Kansas than I already knew. And so that was my thought process of going to Texas. And then I just chose Tech over A&M because I just like Tech's campus way better.
Okay, so you're networking. Good for you. That's smart. Accomplishing. Hey, you move away for college and you can accomplish 2 things at once. You can get your education. You can learn what you need to know for your industry. And at the same time, if you're in a place where there's other people that you want to know in the industry, you can get to know them. You can build that network. That's really smart thinking on your part, Luke.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Well, now, what are you majoring in?
I'm majoring in animal science, and I'm taking the route of business. So it's like I think I'm going to, in the end, have a major in animal science and a minor in business.
Okay. That's great. So you won the proficiency this year, and you'll be finishing out the rest of your freshman year in college. Are you going to be seeking your American degree next year?
I don't really know. I haven't really thought about it. I know my sister did.
Yeah.
So it was like, that competitive family spirit of doing it because she did it is always there. But
Right.
I really haven't. I really haven't thought about that at all, honestly.
And with this national proficiency win, if I'm not mistaken, you'll be eligible to apply to be an American Star candidate next year as well.
If that's true, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you know more about it than I do because
Yeah. Well,
I
well, you're just fresh off your win. You're just fresh off doing the interviews, the application, and all that. So I'm going to give you a month or two to kind of catch your breath. How about that?
Sounds good.
Well, that is great, Luke. I am excited for you. I love the way you've made your decisions and how advanced you guys are in the goat industry. It's really fantastic. Is there a place that if people want to know more about your goats, like I think there's a Facebook page, isn't there, that people could go to?
Yeah, we have a Facebook page and a website that you can go to. It's just Falkenstien, just Falkenstien, just like my last name, and then Family Show Goats.
Okay.
And we look us up on Facebook. We also have a website, and we've really adapted and changed our website the past couple of years to make it more knowledgeable.
Okay.
But
okay. Well, I'll link to that in the show notes for today's episode so everybody can find that if they like. And then I would love to end on this, Luke. I would just love to have your advice for other students out there. You talked about when you were first signing up for the FFA and kind of that decision process. And, there's students that are coming in and they're trying to figure out, what best to do. Should they join the organization? And if they do, what should they pursue? What should their SAE be? How did you make that decision, and what advice would you give to them if they were trying to make the same decisions as you?
So I made the decision to do goats primarily because it was something that I loved to do, and it was just like that your parents or older members of your high school taught you that you're supposed to do a job that it doesn't really feel like work. And whenever I was like, it takes a lot of work. I'm still showing today, and it takes a lot of work to win or compete at a national level. But like, it really doesn't feel like work because you're just like learning, teaching, looking, and doing all these different things, and you're just trying to make yourself a better person in the end and be smarter in the industry. So that's why I chose goat production. It's because I just love being around them, and I'd rather, honestly, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'd rather be at home at the farm doing the goats right now because getting ready for kidding season is very exciting, and we're gonna have kids on December 5th, and I'm not gonna be home till the 13th. So that's kind of that's really disappointing. But then to choose FFA, I really like, they push it really hard in the FFA program once you're already in, but it's hard to know. But like, I believe that anybody should join FFA, even if you have nothing to do with agriculture. Like, one of our ag teachers tells a story that there's a guy that went through our FFA program at our high school, and he literally knew absolutely nothing about agriculture, but he only joined because one of his best friends was joining. And so he joined FFA, did a bunch of the speech contests, did a bunch of ag sales contests and whatnot, and now he's one of the head people, a part of the Oklahoma City Thunder stadium, like organizers or something. I don't know exactly what he does, but like, it has nothing to do with, he has an FFA degree, and he went to high school in FFA, and he still comes back to the high school and says that if he didn't join FFA, he wouldn't be where he was.
Sure.
And so the real push is that joining FFA not only helps with agricultural kids, but it's just building life skills that you need in everything. Like, you're going to need to be able to speak, whether you like it or not. You're going to be able to need to speak. You're going to be able to need to write, AgCom. You're going to be able to need to sell things, and like, just a whole life skills as a whole makes everything better if you join FFA.
Yeah, that is really, really good advice, and I think you're so right about that. Whether or not you stay in ag or not, the skills you get there are going to be beneficial for the rest of your life wherever you go. Well, Luke, this has been great, and it's been a thrill to get to know you and to hear about what you and your family are doing with goats and how just out there on the cutting edge you are. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciated it.
Well, thank you for being here, everybody, and thank you to Luke Falkenstien for coming on the Off-Farm Income Podcast Day and sharing all of that very, very interesting information. And hey, as always, enjoy your journey to the ultimate lifestyle business, agriculture.